I never imagined routine could hollow a man so quietly. My mornings started with bitter coffee, stale cereal, and Amelia's back turned toward me in bed. Conversation had become transactional. Did you feed the dog? What's for dinner? Void of warmth, stripped of touch. We used to laugh in the shower. Now I dried myself alone. She once smelled like orchids and vanilla. Lately, it was medicated shampoo and unspoken resentment. I blamed neither of us. Years take their toll. But something inside me yearned, burned, for more. Work wasn't glamorous. I managed a suburban dealership, haggled over mileage, wore ties too tight around ambition I'd stopped chasing. Then she arrived. Serena. She strolled in one stormy afternoon, red heels clicking against cracked tiles like thunder on polished glass. Her hair was wild, lipstick reckless, questions sharper than any sales pitch I'd rehearsed. She wasn't there for a vehicle, she was hunting an escape. I should have kept it professional. Should have directed her to Kevin or Dan. But her laugh gripped me. Her smile didn't ask permission. We talked. Hours passed unnoticed. She told me about traveling through Morocco, about a father she hated, about affairs she'd ended before they began. I told her I was married. She didn't flinch. I like honest men, she said, leaning closer. Especially the dishonest ones. I told myself it was nothing, just conversation. A spark in a dying forest. But sparks know what they're doing. Our first touch was accidental. Her fingers brushed mine over a clipboard. Electricity shot through me. I hadn't felt something that real since. I couldn't remember. I watched her leave with hips swaying, knowing she'd left something behind. Me. The next day, she called the office. Said her brakes squeaked. I didn't question the lie. Told Amelia I was working late. Heart pounding, palms sweating, I met Serena at a rundown motel 2 blocks from my first apartment. She kissed like she was starving. Undressed like it was war. That night, I wasn't a husband or manager. I was just a man being devoured by a woman who knew exactly how to eat guilt and turn it into pleasure. Afterward, I lay there, eyes to the ceiling, chest heaving. No regret. No shame. Just silence and skin and the terrifying realization that I'd crossed a line I didn't want to return from. Amelia texted, asking if I needed dinner saved. I said no. In bed beside Serena, I began rewriting my reality. Lies tasted sweet when whispered in the dark. I started craving her more than air. I didn't think about consequences. I didn't think about vows. I just thought about the curve of Serena's lips, the way her hands fit perfectly around my secrets. And I didn't notice Amelia smiling, quietly scratching a lottery ticket at the kitchen table, muttering to herself, "What if?" I didn't ask where Serena went between our rendezvous. Didn't care. All that mattered was when she'd return. Body first, stories second. Her world felt untamed, full of shadows and neon. Mine had grocery lists and lukewarm leftovers. At work, I moved like a man floating above his responsibilities. Customers noticed. My staff whispered. I didn't hear them. Serena's lipstick still clung to my collar. Her perfume lingered on my wrist like a tattoo I never regretted. Every message from her came laced with temptation. Meet me behind the diner. Wear black. Don't think. I obeyed. I stopped pretending I wasn't addicted. Amelia, meanwhile, smiled more. That should have warned me. She'd started buying scratch-offs, talking about lucky numbers. Her birthday, our wedding anniversary, even our dog's adoption date. It was cute at first. Then it got weird. She started dreaming aloud about change, about freedom, about how life could shift overnight. I feel lucky lately, she said one morning, sipping orange juice while I adjusted my tie. Like something big's coming. I smiled. Nodded. Lied. Serena was already waiting. She wore leather. Said she wanted to feel powerful. Said she dreamed about me in red rooms, with music playing and no names spoken. I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't want to know what part one played in her fantasies. I only knew I wasn't playing husband anymore. That character bored me. Serena let me rewrite my script daily. Still, guilt wasn't dead. It just grew quieter. Amelia started noticing things. My shirts smelling different. Missed dinners. Blank stares. "You're distant," she said softly one night. "Is something wrong?" "No," I replied, staring into my phone, texting Serena beneath the table. "Just tired." Amelia nodded. Went back to folding laundry. I watched her fingers crease my betrayal into perfect little stacks. I tried convincing myself she didn't care. We were both ghosts floating around old promises. I told myself I was owed this escape. Years of monotony gave me permission. But one afternoon, something cracked. I came home early. Wanted to beat Amelia there so I could shower, clean myself of Serena's scent. But she was already on the couch. Calm. Holding that same damn lottery ticket she'd joked about a week before. "I think I won," she said. No exclamation. Just quiet wonder. "I checked it 10 times. I laughed. "How much?" She handed me the ticket. I read the numbers. Matched them. Once. Twice. My heart stopped. 85 million. Suddenly the room tilted. My secret life blurred. My hands trembled, not with fear, something else. Greed? Panic? She looked at me, not smiling, not angry. Just observant. "Funny," she whispered. "The day I decide to leave you, I win the lottery." I didn't breathe. "What do you mean?" "I mean I bought this ticket the night you said you were helping Steve with his truck. The night I heard you whisper someone else's name in your sleep. Serena." My name echoed off the silence like a gunshot. "Serena," Amelia repeated, almost tenderly, like she was trying out the taste of betrayal. I froze, mid-breath, mid-thought, mid-lie. She didn't scream. Didn't cry. That would have been easier. Pain I could manage. But this? This calm, composed version of her? That scared me more than fists ever could. "I stayed quiet," she continued, setting the ticket on the coffee table like a final chess move. "Watched you shrink into a man who doesn't know how to stop." I tried denying it. Reflexive. Weak. The words left my mouth like hollow bullets, clattering to the floor without impact. She didn't blink. "Here's the fun part," she said, standing slowly. "I don't need you anymore. Not emotionally. Not financially. Not even symbolically." She walked past me, her sense suddenly unfamiliar. Confident. Empowered. I reached for her wrist. "Amelia, please." She pulled back like I'd burned her. Maybe I had. "You don't get to touch me after touching someone else," she whispered, venom dripping between syllables. "You kissed me with a mouth still wet from another woman." I let it slide because I didn't want to believe it. I stood in that living room, surrounded by furniture we'd picked together, photos we never updated, dreams we'd folded away like winter coat. "I made mistakes," I said, barely audible. "But I still love you." She laughed. It wasn't cruel, it was hollow, like she'd emptied every ounce of care from her chest. "No, you don't," she said. "You loved comfort. You loved the version of me who needed you." I watched her pick up the ticket again. Her eyes gleamed, not from the money, but the power it gave her. It made me feel microscopic. She dropped a folded piece of paper beside the ticket. My name scribbled across the front. I didn't open it yet. "I already spoke to a lawyer," she added, slipping her coat on like armor. "You can keep the house. I'm buying an island." She wasn't joking. "I don't want revenge," she said. "I want peace. You, however, should start praying that Serena wants more than fun." She left before I could respond. I stood in the doorway, holding the paper. Inside, divorce details, asset separation, no plea for discussion. It was done. Just like that. I should have felt free. But I felt like a man who bet his entire soul on the wrong card. Later that night, Serena called. I stared at her name glowing on my phone. I didn't answer. The house felt different. Colder. Louder. Like it had been waiting for me to hear it grieve. Somewhere across town, Amelia was sipping champagne beside strangers, probably laughing for real this time. And I I was left holding a glass of whiskey, and a realization. The woman I betrayed just became the most untouchable person I'd ever known. After Amelia left, the silence wasn't quiet. It roared. Every room echoed with what used to be. Her slippers still sat by the door. Her favorite mug, chipped at the handle, stared at me from the sink like it blamed me. Serena called again. Twice. I finally picked up. You disappeared, she purred, voice drenched in mischief. I had things to handle. Your wife found out? I didn't answer. She laughed. I knew it. That breathless tone, you're ruined, aren't you? I didn't like how amused she sounded. Something about it felt cold. Cruel. Maybe that had always been there, hidden beneath red lipstick and whispered promises. I'm divorced, I said flatly. A pause. No prenup, she asked. She won the lottery, I answered. Silence. You're serious? 85 million. Her mood shifted. Laughter gone. Voice tightening like velvet strangling silk. What does that mean for us? She asked. Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry. Just us. Something twisted in my gut. What do you mean? I mean, she said slowly, you're not rich. She is. If she left, what do you have? My job. Your job? You think I'm interested in commission checks and overtime excuses. The knife wasn't even hidden anymore. She was slicing openly. I thought this was real, I said, hating how small I sounded. You thought wrong, she snapped. I like danger. I like power. You were a thrill. That's all. You said. I say a lot of things when I'm naked. She hung up. I stared at the phone. For the first time, truly alone. No wife. No lover. No future. I drank. Days passed like fog. Amelia's lawyer emailed. No spousal support. No shared assets. She'd left me everything I deserved. Nothing. I went back to work. Kevin had taken over half my client. Dan looked at me with pity. I became background noise in my own life. One evening, I saw Serena again. She arrived at the dealership, arm in arm with a man 10 years younger. Rich. Handsome. Dumb enough not to notice the storm he was dancing into. She winked at me. Not out of affection. Out of mockery. I looked away. Later, I found a note taped to my desk drawer. You were fun. Not smart. Not permanent. Just fun. S. The paper smelled like her perfume. It made me nauseous. That night, I drove past Amelia's childhood home. Her parents were outside, talking to someone in a black SUV. She wasn't there. She was already gone. New life. New country, maybe. New story where I didn't exist. The pain wasn't loud. It was surgical. Quiet, precise, final. And in that moment, I realized I hadn't just cheated on my wife. I'd gambled on lust and lost to someone who knew how to play the long game. I tried pretending everything could reset. Routine, job, habits, but every minute dragged like an accusation. The house no longer felt like home. It resembled a mausoleum full of memories choking on dust and broken intentions. Amelia had disappeared entirely. No trace on social media. Mutual friends knew nothing, or lied out of loyalty. It made sense. She owed me silence, not closure. Serena, on the other hand, wouldn't vanish so easily. She texted again. Miss me yet? I didn't reply. I couldn't trust my fingers not to betray me again. I'd once thought of her as dangerous beauty. Now, she was a loaded gun I kept aiming at my own chest. She sent another message the next night. You're not the first man to break his own life for me. You won't be the last. I deleted her number. But even without her voice, she lived in my head. The scent. The curve of her laugh. The cruelty she carried like elegance. Regret? It wasn't instant. It came slowly, like a long illness. At first, you think it's just a cough. Then one day, you can't breathe without remembering the moment you lit the match that burned everything down. I stopped going out. Even simple things, grocery stores, gas stations, felt like arenas of judgment. My reflection started looking like someone else. older, weaker, hollowed. I dreamed of Amelia. In those dreams, she forgave me. We sat on our porch, holding hands, speaking softly about mistakes and healing. But each morning, I awoke alone, her side of the bed permanently cold, untouched. I found the wedding album one Sunday. It was buried behind tax records and a pair of boots she never wore. I opened it with trembling hands. Each page was a punishment. That dress. That smile. The way she'd looked at me back then, like I held galaxies in my chest. I didn't just cheat on her. I betrayed that gaze, that trust, that gentle, stubborn love. One photo held longer than the others, her dancing in the rain after the reception, barefoot, laughing, radiant. That image broke me. I cried. Not the dramatic sobbing you see in films. Just tears, slow, stubborn, honest. I realized I hadn't felt anything real in weeks. Maybe longer. Serena had been a fever dream. Amelia had been the truth I'd squandered for thrill, heat, selfishness. There was no getting her back. No apology big enough to bridge the distance I'd created. She hadn't punished me. She'd released me. That was worse. Because I had to live with myself now, with the empty bed, silent walls, and knowledge that I'd traded forever for nothing. I thought about writing her. Not to win her back. Just to say what should have been said before lust blurred everything. But I never did. Some apologies are too late. Some sins don't get forgiveness. Just echoes. I stopped chasing redemption the day I realized she'd never need to see me again. Amelia, the woman I once thought too quiet, too routine, had turned her pain into freedom. She'd shed the version of herself I mistook for fragile. Turns out, she wasn't fading, she was evolving. News traveled. Not directly to me, but through whispers. She'd bought property overseas. Portugal, maybe. Or Malta. Somewhere with sun-drenched villas and language she could learn from scratch, like shedding skin. She'd started a non-profit, I heard, helping women escape abusive marriages. The irony didn't escape me. Neither did the sting of knowing I wasn't abusive, just invisible, neglectful, unworthy. Which might have been worse. At work, they promoted Kevin. Deservedly. My sales plummeted, enthusiasm died. I no longer wore ties. Just guilt and regret. Management noticed. Eventually, they offered a severance, disguised as sympathy. I took it. The house I fought so hard to keep? Sold. Empty hallways echoed names never spoken again. Strangers moved in. A couple, young, smiling, just like we had been once. I rented a studio apartment downtown. Small, quiet. The kind of place people vanish into. I became a man nobody asked about. Not tragic. Not missed. Sometimes, Serena still texted. You disappeared. You still think about me? You were fun when you weren't boring. I never responded. She faded into memory, more ghost than flame now. That part of my life felt like someone else's sin. I kept one thing from the marriage, a photo. Not the posed ones. Just a candid, Amelia laughing while stirring pasta, wine glass in hand, forehead smudged with flour. That smile wasn't meant for the camera. It was meant for me. A me I didn't deserve to be. Some nights I drank just enough to imagine her voice. Not scolding. Not bitter. Just curious. Why did you do it? And I'd answer honestly, even if she couldn't hear me. Because I was stupid. Because I mistook passion for love. Because I didn't realize that real love doesn't always burn, it sometimes hums. If I had a time machine, I wouldn't go back to stop the affair. I'd go back to the morning Amelia sat beside me in bed, asked if I was okay, and I lied. That was the turning point. Not Serena's kiss. Not the hotel room. Just that first lie. The one that told her I'd stopped choosing her. In the end, she didn't destroy me. She didn't need to. She won. She walked away holding everything that mattered: dignity, independence, self-respect. I kept nothing but echoes. And that was exactly what I deserved.